Welcome to the Explainer. Today we're decoding the really critical differences between Stridhan, dowry, and gifts when it comes to Indian marriage laws. Understanding where you stand isn't just about legal jargon, it's really the foundation of your financial freedom. Think about a wedding. It's all about gifts, joy, and new beginnings. But when you look closer, legally, the line between a simple voluntary gift, a woman's own personal property, and a criminal demand can get incredibly blurry. So in this explainer, we're going to make that line crystal clear. So, how are we going to untangle all this? Well, we've got a roadmap. First, we'll hit the main point of confusion head on. Then, we'll dive deep into what Stridhan actually is and the laws that protect it. We'll walk you through the real-world steps of claiming what's yours, look at how to stop problems before they even start, and wrap it all up with the most powerful tool you have: knowledge. Okay, let's start with the big one, the question that's at the heart of so many arguments and legal battles. What's the real difference between these three terms? They get thrown around and mixed up all the time, and that's where the danger lies. This table, this right here, is the key to the whole thing. Just look at the contrast. On one side, you have Stridhan. It's legal, it comes from love and affection, and it belongs 100% to the wife. Period. On the total opposite end of the spectrum, you have dowry, which is illegal, born from a demand, and can land you in serious legal trouble. And then you've got gifts, kind of in the middle, where ownership can sometimes get a little fuzzy. This difference is everything, and you'll see why as we keep going. All right, with that comparison fresh in our minds, let's zoom in and really focus on Stridhan. What does the law actually see as a woman's own exclusive property? The key phrase to burn into your memory here is absolute ownership. So what does that really mean? Let me put it this way. If your parents gift you a house as Stridhan, it is your house. Not the couple's house, not the in-laws' house, it's yours. You can decide to sell it, rent it out, whatever you want, and you don't need anyone's permission. That's the power of absolute ownership. And this just shows you how wide-ranging the whole concept is. It is so much more than just jewelry and fancy clothes from the wedding. It's this huge umbrella that covers all her personal assets, including the money she earns from her job, property she might inherit, and even gifts from friends. This shift in the law was massive. Before 1956, a woman's hold on property was often pretty weak. It was called a woman's estate, and she was more like a manager or a caretaker. When she passed away, that property would usually go back to her husband's family. The Hindu Succession Act of 1956 completely flipped that on its head. It was a total game changer, upgrading her rights to full, absolute ownership. So, okay, a woman has this absolute right of ownership. But a right is only as good as the laws that protect it, right? This is where the legal system gives it some serious teeth. We're not just talking about ideals anymore. We're talking about real enforceable protections. These three laws are like a powerful legal toolkit. If someone is holding on to her Stridhan and won't give it back, that's a criminal breach of trust. If there's a divorce, she can specifically ask for its return under the Hindu Marriage Act. And, this is so important, the Domestic Violence Act sees withholding Stridhan as a form of economic abuse, which gives her a direct and often faster way to get it back. And this ruling from the Supreme Court is just monumental. It makes it crystal clear. If a husband or his family is holding a wife's Stridhan, they aren't the owners, they're just trustees. They have a legal duty to keep it safe and an absolute duty to return it the moment she asks for it. Refusing to do so isn't just a family disagreement, it's a criminal act. Okay, knowing your rights is one thing, but how do you actually enforce them? What do you do if you're in that awful situation where your property is being kept from you? How do you go from knowledge to action? So the law gives you three distinct paths to go down, and they aren't mutually exclusive. Depending on your situation, you can go the civil route as part of a divorce, file a separate criminal complaint for that breach of trust, or try to get a much quicker order under the Domestic Violence Act. And here we are, the most crucial part of any legal action: evidence. Because without solid proof, your claim is just, well, it's just your word against theirs. The responsibility to prove it is on you, which means being prepared is everything. Having solid paperwork is absolutely non-negotiable. I'm talking about a detailed list of every single item. Keep the original receipts for jewelry, for electronics, for everything. Use your wedding photos and videos, the ones that show gifts being given and received. And for any money transfers, bank statements are golden. Every piece of evidence makes your case stronger. Now, to make sure we're looking at this from all angles, it's really important to talk about the misuse of these laws. The legal system isn't blind to this, and there are ways to deal with false claims and protect everyone involved. The law does not mess around with false claims. If you submit fake bills or wildly exaggerate a list of items, you could face some very serious consequences under the Indian Penal Code. We're talking about potential prison time for lying to the court. And this brings us to what might be the most important takeaway of all. Being proactive protects everybody. A detailed list of gifts signed by both families right at the time of the wedding can prevent so many problems later on. Using bank transfers instead of cash creates a paper trail you just can't argue with. These simple steps can protect everyone from conflict and even defend against false accusations down the line.
So we've covered a ton of ground. After all of this, what's the one thing you absolutely have to remember? What's the central idea that ties this all together?
At the end of the day, it all boils down to intent and consent. Was it given freely, out of love, for the woman's own well-being? That's Stridhan. Or was it demanded either out loud or through pressure as a condition for the marriage to happen? That's dowry, and that's a crime. Ultimately, if a disagreement ever happens, the person with the better records is in the strongest position. It's that simple. Whether we're talking about signed lists, original receipts, or bank statements, proof turns a he said, she said situation into a matter of fact. Preparation isn't just a good idea, it is your power. And that's the real question we'll leave you with. Because understanding these laws, and more importantly, taking those proactive steps to document everything, is the best way to make sure that property serves its real purpose, to be a foundation for security, not a source of conflict.